Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC, healthy people, healthy communities. In it together and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. And Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID, brought to you by SCDHEC. In it together, the Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Happy Thursday, and thank you so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. I am Tre Tailor, and 3 people so far in Columbia, South Carolina have thrown their hat into the ring for mayor. We'll talk to the youngest candidate today, Sam Johnson. Hello there, sir.
Hey, Trey, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm looking forward to talking to you.
Absolutely.
Great.
Same here.
Sam Johnson, candidate for the mayor of the City of Columbia. He's coming up next on Coping with COVID. But first, your COVID community updates. Want to say congratulations to Sheriff Leon Lott. He has been named for the second time winner of the Sheriff of the Year Award. He's been in law enforcement, of course, for 40 years and served as Richland County Sheriff for 24 years, during which time he implemented the Peace Officer Program. Community policing is one of the first departments to appear on Live PD. He has also been named this year's winner for the National Sheriff's Board Association. Again, congratulations to Sheriff Leon Lott. Williams-Brice Stadium will be operating at full capacity this fall, including tailgating and no masks required. The athletic department says they spoke with local and university health officials before making the decision. The first season under head coach Shane Beamer will be September 4th against Eastern Illinois. And as you may have heard, we've talked about it before, the Farmers Market program will launch with DSS. Connolly Ann Ragley was supposed to come and join us about it, but hopefully she'll be able to join us tomorrow. But basically, anyone 60 or older can visit DSS website and apply for $25 checks, $5 checks, which can be used to get fresh fruits and vegetables. It's the DSS Seniors Farmers Market Program. Hopefully we'll be able to connect with Conley and Ragley tomorrow or next week to talk more about that. Hey, don't forget, if you are a senior, know of someone that could take advantage of it. The deadline to register is June 1st. SCDHEC has your most up-to-date list of times, dates, and location for COVID vaccination information in and around South Carolina. Check the scroll at the bottom of the screen for more information that will be scrolling throughout the bottom of the show. As I mentioned yesterday, I'm freewheeling it. I don't want to say freewheeling it this week because our show producer, Lauren Grant, is hospitalized. We are sending our prayers up to Lauren for a speedy recovery. But again, check the scroll at the bottom of the screen for updated information on vaccination sites in South Carolina. Now, that includes the Comet bus station. Of course, don't miss your shot. You can not only catch a free ride from the Comet to a vaccination site, but the Comet bus system is also offering free vaccinations at their main office site. Plus, the Columbia Mall site will remain open until June 9th. Now, that's for anyone 16 and older. No ID or insurance is required, and also no appointment. Spanish and sign language interpreters are available. Pandemic aid relief is still being disseminated. Richland County still has monies available for folks to help pay their rent and their bills. And also SC Housing has rental assistance available. You can see that information on the screen. And again, all of that stuff will be scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Also, if you lost someone due to COVID, FEMA is continuing to offer COVID funeral expenses. You can see that information on the screen. Also, please contact those folks at FEMA to make sure you may be able to get a reimbursement for funeral expenses. Prisma Health Welfare Fest is going on this weekend, featuring former WIS TV anchor Craig Melvin. You've got a couple of days to go ahead and register for this free virtual event that is happening this Saturday, May 22nd. And from yesterday's show on mental health, I want to remind you that there are so many free resources available in South Carolina for folks who are having some challenges coping with COVID. We shared these yesterday on the show and want to share them again, and we'll continue to do that. They've launched SC Hopes, which is a phone number for you to call if, again, you are having some challenges coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor, and you are watching Coping with COVID, updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It is brought to you by SCDHEC, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, also Agape Counseling and Training Center, Javis Tax Services, In It Together SC, and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, Computers Unique in Dutch Square Mall, and also Palmetto Media Connections. We are streaming live on Facebook on the Tailor Made production page. Would you please go over there and hit like and follow and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses about coping with COVID. Great information. Also, if you check out that Tailor Made production page on Facebook, you'll find so many great resources as far as COVID is related. We're also streaming live on YouTube. Want to thank all of our YouTubers for joining us and ask you to please hit the subscribe button. We also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. Hey, don't forget that the chat comments are open if you have a question or a comment throughout the show. And again, please don't forget to continue to post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. Listen, the City of Columbia mayoral race is heating up. 3 candidates, once again, has so far thrown their hat into the ring. We talked to Tamika Isaac Devine several weeks ago. We also talked to Daniel Rickerman. He is set to join us next week. And today we are talking to Sam Johnson with his beautiful smile. He is here to tell us about a little bit about his background, if you are not familiar with Sam, and why he wants to be mayor of the City of Columbia. Sam, thank you so much once again for joining us. We appreciate you, sir.
Thanks, Trey. I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity to come on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your background. We know that you grew up, your mom was an Alzheimer's nurse. Your dad was a truck driver. Tell me how that shaped you and even prepare you for the office of mayor.
Yeah, we had a working class family. Yeah, I was a first generation college student. As you mentioned, their occupations. My mom's from Ridgeway. My dad's from Winsboro. They moved to Columbia when I was born. They wanted me to have the opportunities they felt like Columbia could provide, the capital city of our state, the seat of government, and so. I think about my father, his work ethic, someone who has, as you see the advances, generationally, that families have made.
Yeah.
I look at my dad and how much he stressed academic performance and achievement, how much he really stressed to me and my little brother the opportunities that are available to us if we seize them.
Yeah.
And so my mother, someone who's caring, who was, would come home and talk about her patients. And, when you're dealing with Alzheimer's patients, it's tough.
Yeah.
It is a tough challenge. And so, that shaped me. I care about people. I care about our community. I love being involved in our community. That's one of the reasons why when you look at traditionally as someone who's been involved in campaigns and politics and government and who helped to run Mayor Benjamin's campaign. You have traditional door knocking where you're knocking on doors and telling people about yourself. Well, in the pandemic, it felt like one, you want to be very careful and safe about that, but you also know that we got to get people vaccinated. And so it's that same caring love that I saw with my mother and service that I saw with my father that said, hey guys, look, this is an opportunity for us to make sure that we're getting people vaccinated. And so our campaign was able to work and help to get over 2,000 people registered to get vaccinated during this pandemic. And we need so many more. And of course, shows like this help people understand where those resources are.
Right.
Because part of the challenge has been making sure that everyone knows and has the information real time, right? Trey, so many of your viewers tune in so they can figure out which way to go, right? Where are vaccination sites, what are the times, what are the locations as things shift and change throughout this time that we've never seen. We look at this pandemic, the greatest pandemic since 1918. Our ability in this technologically advanced society that we live in to make sure that everyone is aware of vaccines. I remember. You got a picture of me up back in the day when I was actually young. I remember when Gamecock Park started vaccinating folks, and I remember the information gap. Right, folks who look like me and you did not know that they could go to Gamecock Park and get a vaccine. And as we look at the health disparities that are prevalent in our community, we have that information gap costs lives. And so, those resources are so extremely important. And, as I look back on my mom, someone who's an Alzheimer's nurse who came home and talked nonstop about her patients and the challenges that they presented each day and the love that she had for them, it's that same type of energy that I want to put into being mayor.
We're talking to Sam Johnson. He is candidate for a mayor of the city of Columbia. And, listen, you are really talking my language now. When you're talking about the information gap between people, particularly Black and brown people with the pandemic, because Sam, I'm telling you, that is why I even launched this show. And I tell this story often, and I never forget last March when I was sitting on that couch over there with those two babies, and I was watching Brooklyn Baptist Church online. And I remember, Tasha Boone, Pastor Jackson's doctor, came on and she was talking about it. And I thought to myself, gosh, and this was new. It was brand new. I said, let me do one live. It was supposed to be one live that I was going to do and interview her. And there was so much need for information. And at that point, I recognized that there are people, and this is a little off topic, but there are so many people that only get their news and information from social media. They're not watching and listening to NPR. They're not watching CNN, MSNBC. And there is so much misinformation on social media. So, my goal was to utilize, my background in journalism and come to social media where credible information is so much needed, and just to try to provide some information. And, so I applaud you because there are a lot of issues in our country, in our world, in our city, in our state. And I do believe that we have got to use what we have to reach, the people that need it.
Trey, I've been very blessed. I had all of my grandparents until last year.
Wow, that is a blessing.
I lost both of my paternal grandparents to COVID last year.
Oh my God!
And so that information gap that you're talking about, like I said, it costs lives.
It does.
That's why this effort that we're talking about, it's not one that's a political game. It's not something that that is about getting votes. This is personal. Quite frankly, this is about helping people, which is why the third day of our campaign, we came up with the chief health officer policy.
Right, because, and I want to talk a little bit about that.
But and the reason though for that, we can drill down later on the policy itself. But the reason why we have to have that policy, not whether it's something that should be debated. Why we need that policy is because we've got to make sure that we've got somebody at the helm who can say, Trey, look, we've got this misinformation out here. I'm going to tell you where the balls and the strikes are. I need you to get the strikes out to the masses, right? I need someone who's going to make sure that everyone knows this is the facts and this is how you go and you get this vaccine. These are the things that you need to do to stay safe and to keep your family intact.
Well, let's jump over there because I want to get some more background information, but I really want to jump to that because, Sam, I want to ask you, so you don't think that Dr. Linda Bell has been, the Dr. Fauci of South Carolina, but
absolutely.
But you don't think that is what her role, her position, or even the folks at DHEC do? No.
So we're the capital city of the state. We are the most diverse community in this state by far. We are one of the most dense populations in this state by far.
Right.
Dr. Linda Bell has a lot to say grace over. She has 6 million people that she's responsible for.
I got you. I hear you.
We need someone who can focus like a laser beam on the 200 to 350,000 people in our MSA, the 130,000 people in our city limits, and make sure that the healthcare disparities. I mean, I'm looking at statistics right here that double for folks who look like me and you. Those healthcare outcomes. We need someone, and this is, I love Dr. Linda Bell. We've chatted throughout this pandemic, and I love the work that she's done. I love how she has provided guidance to the governor. But this is about Columbia. This is about our city and making sure our city has what it needs so we can tackle these challenges, not just in a pandemic, ongoing. Because the healthcare disparities that I'm talking about and I want to focus on, they existed long before 2020, March of 2020.
Absolutely. We're talking to Sam Johnson. He is an attorney here in South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, and candidate for the mayor of the city of Columbia. Let's backtrack because I want to get back to that because listen, that's a hot button for me. So I don't get me started with that because I really want this to be about you and I want people to get to know you, those who don't know you. So you work with Anton Gunn for a time. Tell us how you got connected with Anton and tell us about your time with him. So that is a very young picture right there. You look like a baby.
And Trey, I have to start this conversation by sending my condolences to his family. What a lot of people don't know is I was raised by this community. I was blessed with a wonderful mother and a wonderful father. But I was one of those kids that needed a lot of help. And so his in-laws have a very special place in my heart.
Right.
And his father-in-law passed away this past Tuesday.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And
I didn't know that.
He is one of those folks who instilled fear in my heart as a youth. And is responsible for the person that you see before you today. And so I have to start off by sending my condolences to his family.
Yes.
Anton taught me about policy. He was the first person to share with me how you, and a lot of people may not remember, and Trey, I know you do, South Carolina Fair Share, the advocacy organization that fought at the legislature. There's so many lobbyists and different folks who focus on special interests and different efforts,
right.
And some of them are wonderful and well-meaning, but South Carolina Fair Share was an organization that fought for the common person, for healthcare outcomes, for just parity in our state. And so Anton taught me so much about policy and about how legislation is made, how this state is operated and ran, about life. And of course, Anton introduced me to Steve Benjamin, not Mayor Benjamin, to Steve Benjamin.
Right.
During my time at Carolina, I was a first-generation college student. I have never had a lawyer in my family. And so I shared with Anton a dream of going to law school. And he connected me with a young lawyer named Steve Benjamin. and Steve met with me each month at the Gervais Street
Really?
Starbucks
Wow.
for
Wow.
2 years. A lot of people don't know that. And so Anton is someone that I continue to remain close to. There's not a major decision in my life that I don't consult and talk to Anton about. And so just a phenomenal human being, and someone who's worked closely for President Obama. A lot of people will remember he was an Obama appointee.
Yeah.
And a lot of people credit him for, and others. Let me put that in others, because I don't want to get in trouble. But credit him and others for President Obama's primary victory here in South Carolina. And so Anton has played a major role not only in my life, but in the worlds and lives of people in this state and in this country.
Yeah, we're talking to Sam Johnson. He is a candidate for mayor of the city of Columbia, South Carolina. There's his social media information. If you want more information about him, please continue to post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. We've got a big election coming up in November. And, listen, we need to, we talk a lot about, national politics, but it's the local politics we really need to pay closer attention to, because that's where the decisions are made that directly affect us, here in Columbia, South Carolina. So thank you so much for taking the time. Deanna Booker, thank you for joining us. She says, Sam has been a strong leader since he was a kid. She said you were her martial arts teacher. Congratulations and good luck. Thank you, Deanna. Who knew you were a martial arts teacher?
Trey, I've lived a lot of lives. And like I said, this community helped raise me. So my first mentor, Anton, was in a lot of ways my second mentor. My first mentor was a guy named Master Tracy Goodwin.
Yeah.
The World Taekwondo Center. And so I started when I was 3. Actively took martial arts until I was about 22. Still can throw a kick or two every once in a while, Trey. But I'm not the lean guy I used to be. But and Deanna's right. I used to teach and taught her baby. And so learned so much. Discipline, learned about the community. That was another place that I got very involved in this community, teaching children. I used to teach out in Greenview. So I taught 2 classes in Greenview at Northminster and then V.V. Reed. And so those types of things help you understand the fabric, the DNA, the culture of this city. Trey, I could go on and on about how much I love Columbia, but it's those types of experiences that Deanna's bringing up in me. I wouldn't even go down that road, but she's right, and I love the experiences that I've had in Columbia.
You mentioned that Anton introduced you to Steve, who, of course, you ended up working on his campaign. He became mayor, and you talked a little bit about so much that you learned during that campaign, and then you were rewarded with a position, in the mayor's office. Tell us a little bit about that. You guys worked on a lot of really instrumental projects during that time. My Brother's Keeper initiative was one of those.
Yeah. So under the previous administration, under 44, we have an administration that we could work and we work very closely with. I remember so many White House calls where Mayor Benjamin was leading the charge on so many different spaces, whether it's My Brother's Keeper, or whether it's community policing, 21st century policing task force guidelines that we helped to introduce, making Columbia the first city in the state to introduce body cameras. Leading the charge in transparency along those efforts, and so helping to develop and re-engage the city in a number of ways. We started looking at Main Street, helping to bring vibrancy back. A lot of people back from that 2007 and 2009 economic downturn that we were in, if you remember, in California, they were tearing down new houses.
Right.
Gas was $4 and $5 a gallon, which this
it's almost that now, right?
Yeah, this past 2 weeks haven't been too kind. That's where we were, and our Main Street was suffering because of it. We were furloughing our first responders. Our budget was in the red. A lot of folks doubted, quite frankly, whether Mayor Benjamin could provide the type of policy that could keep us in the black. Looking back on it, we were able to keep the city in the black throughout his tenure, 12 years. And so that type of leadership, it requires intentionality. Requires folks who can focus and research policy. Myself and my colleagues in the mayor's office, we were able to focus and make sure that we are providing a direction and a foundation for Columbia that we're able to grow and have a vibrant city because of it. And so I'm running for mayor because I think that with that foundation, we've got a lot of opportunity, Trey. We can build on that foundation and create an even more vibrant city. We can provide more opportunities for our children. We can make sure that we have a robust economy that provides jobs and opportunity for our people. The challenge that we have is that we've got to be very intentional. We've got to make sure that we elect a leader that's going to continue to make sure they have a focus and a drive to make Columbia the very best city in this country. A lot of folks may remember Mayor Benjamin used to say, have a saying that he said all the time: we want to be the most talented, educated, entrepreneurial city in the Southeast, if not all of America. Well, we're going to do it. We can make sure that we accomplish and achieve that goal. But we've got to make sure that we are intentional in doing that.
Yeah, we're talking to Sam Johnson. He is a candidate for the city of the mayor of Columbia, South Carolina. Please continue to post and share this information out so we can get the message to the masses. Like I said, the election is several months away, but you want to be aware and be informed about the choices that we have here in the city of Columbia. So please continue to post and share this information out. So, Sam, I have to ask you, your time working with Steve, I mean, because you guys were friends first and he became your employer, and do you think it's those things, some of those things, that make you feel like you're ready to step into this role of mayor?
Yeah, I think that experience, the experience of knowing the challenges, and as I talk to you today, I'm at my law firm, Nexon Pruitt, where I'm 2 doors down from Mayor Bob.
Former mayor, right?
I have the distinction of not only having worked for Mayor Benjamin, but of course now working with Mayor Bob. And anytime you're able to have that type of exposure, to have the not only the historical context, but to be able to lean on that history to provide new ideas, fresh ideas that will provide the positioning that we need here in Columbia, that will allow your children and my children to accomplish all of their dreams. And so, Trey, that the unique history that I have in Columbia, from being a martial arts instructor to being a first generation college student who went to University of South Carolina for undergrad and law school, being someone who's been exposed to so much across this country during my time in the mayor's office, and seeing cities who have done innovative and powerful things, all of that shapes me. And is why I think I can give back to the city in a way that will help us, help position us for the next 10 to 20 years.
Two things before we take a break in a couple of minutes. Best advice you've gotten from the two mayors that you work with, Mayor Bob, who is an icon in the city of Columbia, and Steve will end up being too, because he's, brought so many great things to the city. So best advice that you've gotten or learned from both of those?
Sure. So with Mayor Benjamin, it's easy. His one of the first things he said to me 15 years ago, something like that, was dream big dreams. To dream big dreams, and that applies to Columbia. We've got to dream big dreams. We got to be bold. And so that's the first thing that I think of with Mayor Benjamin. And the second thing, is Mayor Bob. One of the things that I look at, and I've had a chance to observe him, and we talk a lot about putting one foot in front of the other, being steady. And so being consistent. And I think those are two things that we've got to do in Columbia. We've got to be very consistent. We've got to be intentional about where we go and what our vision for Columbia looks like.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, when you're able and have that opportunity to rub shoulders and be around two dynamic leaders, it's a blessing.
Right. We're talking to Sam Johnson. He is a candidate for mayor of Columbia, South Carolina. When we come back, we're going to talk to him about his vision for Columbia, some of the things that he wants to implement. He talked a little bit about this new position that he wants to start. And also, we're going to talk about what happened with this photo. Those two folks. They look like they are gazing in each other's eyes right there. So we're going to find out more about Sam and his family and about what his vision is for the city of Columbia. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Coping with COVID. We'll be right back with more coming up next.
Visit Davis Tax Service today, 803-419-1001.
The Comet gives me a reliable source of transportation.
It's very convenient to me, and they have wonderful drivers.
It's clean, and it builds community. It's fun to meet people.
It makes me feel like really independent. It's just fun.
It's always going to be there, and it gets me everywhere I need to go.
We try to ride every single day. Comedy is our livelihood.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday life. But when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
How will you remember the year 2020?
COVID.
Losing my job.
Working 12-hour shifts in a mask.
Losing my grandma to COVID.
COVID has claimed thousands in South Carolina and strained our health system, schools, businesses, and families. If you're struggling and need to talk, call SC Hopes. That free call can help put you in touch with people who can help. This goes for healthcare workers, teachers, restaurant employees, parents, anyone and everyone. SC Hopes. Mental health and addiction support for challenging times.
You can eat what's good to you and good for you, too.
Yes.
Get the Dash for Southern Soul Cookbook free. All you have to do is ask. It's packed with delicious Southern-style recipes with a healthy twist.
Yummy.
You won't be able to taste the difference, but you will be able to feel the difference.
Yeah.
Inbox your email address to the In It Together or TaylorMade Productions Facebook page, and you'll get it straight to your mailbox. The Dash for Southern Style Cookbook and a Coping with COVID face mask. From In It Together SC, the Diabetes Advisory Council of South Carolina, and Coping with COVID.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.
Thank you so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor, and today we are talking to one of the candidates for the City of Columbia mayoral race. Sam Johnson joins us. If you are just joining us, one thing I want you to do, a couple of things actually, go back, because if you missed a whole lot of great stuff, if you just joined us, you missed a whole lot of great stuff that Sam said. So you definitely want to go back. If you are just joining us, thank you so much for watching. Please continue to post and share this information out. The mayoral race is not until later on this year, but listen, right now only 3 people got their hat in the ring. That, do you know when is filing closed, Sam?
It's the second week of August.
Oh, okay. So we got all summer long. Anything can happen. Anything can happen before then. So just make sure you know everything that you need to know. When we left, we were talking to Sam about his time working with Anton Gunn and also Mayor Steve Benjamin. He's working now at Nexon Pruitt with Mayor Bob. Tell us about what you're working on with him, because you guys are doing some job creation and some other things. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So one of the, for me, one of the advice, some of the advice I got from Anton. I know we talked about the advice I've gotten from Mayor Bob and Mayor Benjamin. Anton told me life is about challenges. And so, I had public sector experience working for Mayor Benjamin and helping to run the mayor's office. I wanted to get private sector. I want, you hear about all of the challenges that people run into when they're trying to run their businesses and deal with government and that sort of thing. And so my job at Nexon Pruitt is I work with clients who have issues with government. So it may be regulatory challenges, and it comes in a number of different ways. It could be, zoning issues and challenges. It could be issues with water sewer issues. And so we represent clients throughout the state of South Carolina. Our firm here, Nexon Pruitt, is headquartered in Columbia. We've got offices throughout the state of South Carolina and North Carolina, and so we help clients throughout this state with issues that impact them on the city and county level specifically. And so, that may be a developer who is trying to build an office or residential dwelling, or like I said, it could be someone who's looking to expand, but they're not sure. They run into some challenges, whether it's as it relates to planning and zoning or otherwise. And so, I've had an amazing opportunity to not only see things from a mayor's office perspective, right? I'm the only candidate in this race who has any type of mayoral leadership, any type of mayoral experience. I know the day in and day out of being mayor, but I also know the day in and day out of a developer, of a person trying to work with a city or a county and who's bumping their head. And so I bring that to the table as well, and the ability for our community, that's our citizens or our companies, to interact with the city of Columbia in Richland County is tantamount. We cannot grow. We cannot make sure that people are able to do what they have to do, live their lives, if they can't connect. All right, if they cannot connect to our city and our county infrastructure. And so, and I say infrastructure in the people sense, right? In the staffs of the city and the county. So that has been my job at Nexon Pruitt, and something I've enjoyed. Like I said, Anton told me life is about challenges. I've had the pleasure of seeing that challenge now from a private sector perspective now too.
You talk about challenges. How is raising a baby? Is that a challenge?
So my daughter will be one in 9 days.
Wow.
Trey, you got a chance to meet Kennedy.
I did.
I'm blessed. Every parent, I'm sure, thinks that their child is just the most beautiful, amazing thing ever. And I am no different. Kennedy, my wife is a lawyer. She's a first generation college student. Well, actually, no, she's a second generation college student, raised by a single mother from Hartsville, South Carolina. And my wife and I, oh Lord, she's gonna see this and she's gonna be like, "Where'd you get that picture from?"
Talk to Michael. Right.
We have enjoyed it. Trey, she was born May 29th. You look at the challenges of having a baby during this pandemic.
Yeah.
We know all the maternal health challenges that come, especially for women of color.
Yeah.
In times when there is no pandemic, but certainly a pandemic on top of those maternal health challenges. There's so many different issues that came to mind and that were real for us. And so becoming a parent during this pandemic has presented challenges. having a mother who had health issues as well. Inability of family to see their granddaughter. So all of those types of things. But we've been blessed with the opportunity to be home with her, to see her do so many
that's
firsts.
a blessing. That's
absolutely.
a blessing.
So, she was born the same day as some of the protests that happened here on the wake of George Floyd, too. So looking at the dichotomy of having my firstborn child born, and then seeing a police cruiser, a Tahoe, have his windshield bashed in, set on fire in Columbia, and not something that we're accustomed to here in Columbia. We've had disagreements, but generally our disagreements are not disagreeable. Right. And so, in a state where we've taken down the flag and had numerous conversations about that as a state, this is an interesting time for us. Social justice, and as you know, and friends of yours as well, Antoine C. Wright and Bakari Sellers, we had a conversation series. Our campaign has launched a conversation series every month. We talk about just pressing issues, and race and social justice are a pressing issue. And so these are issues that not only I will have to deal with, and you, Trey, but issues that Kennedy will have to deal with as well.
Yeah. We're talking to Sam Johnson. He is a candidate for the city of Columbia, a mayoral race. And you talked a little bit about law enforcement and racial unrest and some of the things that we're dealing with. I want to play this video and then get your opinion on what we as a city can do, what your thoughts are.
I remember that night like it was yesterday. I was walking down the street with my best friend and his older brother, and we saw a police officer talking with a group of students, and my buddy's brother yelled something at me. Before I could say, man, you should have done that, the officer had him by the arm and slammed him up against the wall. This wall. I don't remember much after that, but I do remember my friend yelling at the officer, stop, let him go, let my brother go. I remember how scared I was. Like it seemed like a bad dream, and I just wanted it to be over. Nobody got arrested, and nobody got hurt. But looking back, it could have been a lot different. I know how lucky we were. I know that too many folks have stories just like mine or worse. And I know that if we don't do something, my daughter will too. From body cameras to community policing, I'm proud of the things that we accomplished spearheading Mayor Benjamin's Justice for All efforts. But there's so much more that needs to be done. Our plan takes the next step, bringing counselors, not cops, to mental health emergencies, setting new standards for transparency and accountability, investing in diversion, not incarceration for simple possession, and raising the pay for all of our first responders to make public safety a point of pride for all Colombians. Politics as usual can't bring our community and cops together. We need something new. We need leadership. Columbia can't wait.
So, Sam, you outlined what you see as, your goal, your dream, your wish, your desire, what you're going to focus on as far as policing in our city. But what about the gun violence? What about, I'll just say it, really, the Black on Black crime? I think as Black and brown people, and it's true, there is an issue with, not generational, but racial injustice. But what about what's happening in our community? What do you think about that? And I know here in Columbia, both Sheriff Lott and Chief Police Chief.
Holbert,
Thank you. I couldn't get it out. Both have talked extensively about how to get these guns off the streets, particularly for our young people. What's your thoughts about that?
So, a couple things. First, I've had conversations with both Chief Holbrook and Sheriff Lott. And I just want to share this stat as it kind of frames this conversation because it's a very important point. 94% of the time the perpetrator in Columbia for a shooting, right? Specifically for a shooting, the 94% of the time is a young Black male.
94%.
91% of the time, the victim in a shooting is a young Black male. All right. So, as we level set this conversation,
right.
I think it's very important to know those statistics, right?
Yeah.
And so, the challenge that we have in Columbia is twofold. We've got to be very intentional. Our public safety plan that we put out, I want to say on April 6th, was one that focuses on taking guns off the street. We know that guns get passed around. We have, a shooter in one instance will pass a gun to friends, and the same gun will be utilized in other shootings. We've seen that statistically. We have the technology to be able to track the guns that commit these shootings. Well, so we've got to get guns off the street, and we know a lot of times those guns are stolen guns, right? Are guns that are taken from unlocked cars, are not reported, and so what we've got to do is we've got to be very intentional about getting guns off the street, which is why our campaign, when we put our public safety plan on April 6th, we instituted a penalty. If your gun is stolen and you don't report it within an appropriate amount of time, there's a penalty for not reporting that gun. Because we have to be, we encourage, and I personally believe in the Second Amendment. We don't, however, believe that your Second Amendment right allows you to not be a good steward of your weapon. If your weapon is lost, you need to report it. And so, as someone with a law degree who appreciates the Constitution, we have to make sure that we are providing those safeguards to make sure that we keep our community safe.
Right.
We also then have to, at the same time, Trey, we've got to make sure that we're creating more opportunity. Right. We've got to make sure that people in this community know and understand that there are so many other things that you can do besides pull a trigger. And so the challenge is twofold. We've got to reach our children. We've got to make sure that our children have all the resources, all the opportunity to live up to their God-given potential. I'm a perfect example of that. As I mentioned, I have had so many folks who've been responsible for keeping me on the right track.
Right.
Every time I tried to go the wrong way, I had someone there to help me. And so as mayor, we'll focus on that. But we also got to make sure that we continue to give people a second chance as well, which is why in that same public safety plan, we of course saw in the video as well, we call for formalizing the police department not charging our young folks for a simple possession of marijuana. We've got to make sure that we institute programs like that and formalize them, give them the resources that they need, so they don't have to pay for a diversionary program that picks and chooses who can afford to participate and that sort of thing. We've got to make sure that all children in Columbia who make a mistake get a second chance.
Right.
And so it's about opportunity. It's about showing your priorities, getting guns off the streets, and making sure that we implement policy. The other part of this too is that we've got to make sure, as we have this conversation around policing, and Trey, we talked earlier in this conversation about my work in the mayor's office, the Obama administration, and the work that we did together, the 21st Century Policing Task Force and guidelines. Well, we're in 2021 now, and so I fundamentally believe that policing must evolve with society. And so as society continues to evolve, policing must evolve with it. Our communities have to have a police department that continues to evolve with it. And then we've got to make sure that we're attracting the highest quality officer each and every day to our police department. We've got to make sure that they have the resources that they need. And so, as I recall, prior to Mayor Benjamin's tenure, I remember first responders being furloughed. That takes us exactly in the wrong direction. We've got to make sure that we are putting our priorities right here on the table, that we're showing folks that we care, that we're going to make sure that our children have the opportunity to live up to their God-given potential. They're going to be treated with dignity when they do have interactions with law enforcement. They're going to be treated and their interactions are going to be met with someone who cares about them, who has the lived experience necessary to make sure that they live after that experience. That's what this is all about.
Yeah. Sam Johnson joins us today on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. She is running for mayor of City of Columbia. I've got a couple of more questions before we let you go, Sam. What do you think about, what are your plans for homelessness in the City of Columbia? That's a big issue here too, and everywhere across the country, actually.
Yeah, it is a big issue across the country. It's a big issue in Columbia. It will be a bigger issue after and as we hopefully, knock on wood, come out of this pandemic and get more and more individuals vaccinated. And Trey, I'm gonna use this opportunity. I'm gonna use this opportunity to highlight your ticker again. To say, hey, if you need to schedule a vaccine, you can do that.
Yes.
Because we're not out of this pandemic right now.
No, we're not.
This pandemic is not over. We still have individuals. We were out knocking on doors this Saturday, trying to get people vaccinated, and so we still have to do that.
And if I could just jump in here, I mean, in the news today, we found that a variant has been found in South Carolina. We're going to have an epidemiologist on tomorrow to talk a little bit about that, what that means. So,
absolutely, and so we've got to be vigilant there. And I apologize for getting us off track.
No, you're good.
But as it relates to homelessness, we are the state capital, and don't get me wrong, we have homeless who come from across the state and seek resources here in Columbia. But what we've got to do is we've got to triage a lot better. We are blessed to be living in one of the most technological advanced times of any of our lives and of history, right? And so we've seen technology advance so far in such a short period of time. However, we have to utilize that advancement to our benefit. We've got to make sure that we are centralizing resources and providing the resources to our individuals in the best possible way. And so as we look at urban sprawl, we have a lot of resources that quite frankly are unfortunately out of reach. So we've got to make sure the next mayor of Columbia has to make sure that those resources are available to everyone. And then we also have to make sure that we're very intentional. As I mentioned, I've been in my time in the mayor's office, as well as my time at Nexus and Pruitt, I've represented and worked with folks as they develop housing in this city. We have a disastrous need for housing in Columbia, housing that allows people to live in dignity. So we've got to provide that housing quickly. Unfortunately, historically in Columbia, we'll do a project here and a project there. We've got to walk and chew gum in 2021. We've got to make sure that we can provide a robust amount of housing across the 4 districts of this city. That's also a challenge. One of the things that we've done as we've provided housing is we've had NIMBY issues. Not in my backyard. And that's kept us from being able to provide the type of housing that we need all across the city. And now in 2021, we see ourselves as we've been in our homes, stuck in our homes, and we've had a chance to look inward this past year. We realize that there are challenges all across the city as it relates to housing and allowing people to live in dignity and then also have those resources, right? Whether it's Wi-Fi, whether it's good working water, making sure that they don't have brown water in 2021. So we got to make sure that as we build out our infrastructure, we are providing the types of resources necessary for people to live and live well. Placemaking, making sure that people can live a healthy life. Which, going back to Chief Health Officer, as we implement policy to get more housing in Columbia, in our campaign, we will show and provide policy that incentivizes more housing development here in Columbia. But as we provide that, we also have to have a Chief Health Officer that shows people and make sure that development is surrounded by the healthy components that allow people to walk. Allow people to be able to utilize greenways and to change these healthcare outcomes so that we don't have diabetes and hypertension and amputations and set the record in the state for the amount of amputations and diabetes and hypertension and strokes in Columbia. We've got to make sure that as we build out our community, and as we address the issue of housing specifically, that we are thinking holistic, not just simply throwing up timber. We've got to make sure that we are throwing up life-changing resources at the same time.
Sam Johnson joins us. He's a candidate for the mayor of Columbia. I'm glad you mentioned the affordable housing thing, because that was going to be my next question, because that goes along with the homeless issue. Yeah, that just goes along with the homeless issue. We've got a couple of more minutes before we let you go. How do you feel about, well, a couple of things I want to know, but I will ask you this. So we're still in the midst of COVID. You mentioned that a couple of times. November is the election. What happens if COVID becomes a seasonal occurrence? As some healthcare officials have said, it may be just something we deal with every season. So, your mayor, it's November, it's December maybe, and now here comes COVID again. How do you handle it? Are we back to masks? Are we back to social distancing? What do you think?
Well, let's be very exact, right? So one, we need a chief health officer,
right?
So that we understand that public health is going to be an issue, regardless of the
COVID or not,
regardless of how much of an issue COVID is, right?
Yeah.
COVID will be an issue going forward.
Yeah.
But regardless of how much, to what severity COVID is an issue, we need a chief health officer. So I'll say that. We saw yesterday that Pfizer CEO said that every 12 to 18 months, we're going to have to get a booster, right? That means there's going to have to be an effort led to make sure that not only Sam Johnson and Tre Tailor get this vaccine, but Pookie and Ray Ray and them get the vaccine,
exactly,
get the booster as well. And so we need those types of efforts led by someone. So the chief health officer is not, like I said, it's not just a pandemic. It's addressing these healthcare outcomes each and every step of the way, each and every step of individuals' lives. So we're going to have to make sure that we address those challenges going forward. The next mayor is going to have to make sure that this pandemic or any other pandemic, as we look to rebuild and make sure that we have a resilient city, that our city's economy is not brought to its knees every time there is a public health scare as well. Yeah. And so the next mayor has to think long term and be thinking about how we build a community, a city that is vibrant, no matter what may be happening in the public health space in the world. And so those are so many different challenges that the next mayor has to tackle, Trey, which is why you need a mayor with experience, with mayoral experience, who knows the different components and the type of leadership. One of the things that I will tell you I've learned is the mayor has to be the tip of the spear. It's got to be willing to lead. We can't ask the question of what Charleston is doing, what Greenville may be doing, what Rock Hill or Timbuktu, Tanzania. It doesn't matter. What we have to do, what we know is right, and what allows our people, our citizens, to have the very best lives possible, for them to be able to achieve their goals and their aspirations right here in Columbia in a healthy, strong way.
Yeah. Last question. You mentioned that you have to be bold as the mayor. Are you bolder than the other two candidates?
I think so, Trey. I think so. And I say this, both of the other candidates are people I know very well. Right. Folks that I have a lot of respect for. I think that I bring something unique to the table. Right. I think that I have the ability to provide the type of leadership, bold leadership, that Columbia needs, so that not only are we able to keep pace, to tread water, but so that we can be great, Trey. So that we can make sure that Columbia has all of the opportunities that it needs, so that our children can excel, not be okay, not be all right, but excel right here in Columbia.
Sam Johnson is joined us this hour on Coping with COVID. If you want more information, you can see his social media there, and also his website, which is right here. You can go to Sam's website, johnsonformayor.com. There, I'm sure they can get more information about you, about your initiatives. They can donate, volunteer, all of that. Stuff. Right. Right. Anything else?
they can meet Sam. They can meet Sam Johnson. Now, Trey, I got a question for you.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier. I told you about my love for Tre Tailor. And you said that you had some feedback for your love for.
Well,
for
you
Tre
know
Tailor.
what? I wasn't going to say it because of time, but I'll tell you my story. Okay, Joanne Cunningham, but let me give her this first. She says, Joanne Cunningham says, Columbia is very divided and undereducated despite the times we live in today. She says there are a lot of issues beyond COVID that are brought up but are not actually tackled. She says she agrees with community involvement. The problem is getting the community involved. She says, thank you for laying out a few of your ideas, Mr. Johnson. That's a great thing that she said. Everybody talks about community involvement. The problem is getting the community involved. Do you want to comment on what Joanne said? Thank you, Joanne.
Joanne's absolutely right. And so I can tell you as someone who has had the job of implementing ideas, of not only crafting those ideas, but then implementing them as well. I have had to work with the community. My role and my vantage point is very unique. So not only when you're running for mayor, you get a chance to talk to community leaders. I've already worked with those community leaders. Right. I know what it's like to try to roll up your sleeves and get people involved. And sometimes it can be, it can be pulling teeth. To get the type of coalition and involvement that you need to make a difference and a change, but you got to be willing to do it. And so, there's a way to go about it. I've had that experience, years of that experience, and so I think Joanne hit the nail on the head on that comment.
Yeah. Thank you, Joanne, for your comment, and thank you for watching Coping with COVID. Okay, several years ago, it may have been my first one of my first couple of interactions with you, and I guess we were just having a conversation. I was like, "Hey, Sam," blah, 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 and you said, "Hey, buddy," and I was like, "Oh, he called me his buddy," until I heard you tell everybody. I was like, "Oh, that's just his thing that he."
Well, Trey, I'll tell you, one of my gifts is, I'm a bridge builder, and so I think we won't. Plus, I have the benefit of trying to build coalitions, and we typically, the young lady, Miss Joanne, just talked about getting the community involved, right? Yeah. One of my gifts is being able to get people to the table, right? To work with people, and that's extremely important. We may disagree on how we get how we build a bridge, right?
There, yeah.
But we're going to have that conversation and figure out. All right, you think A, I think B. All right, let's figure out. What C looks like. Let's figure it out together. And so I've got a lot of buddies out there. And Trey, you might be chief among them. But it's a blessing. It's a blessing, and it's a blessing to have friends who you legitimately know and feel are able. And I remember where I first met you.
I don't remember that. Do we need to have? Do we need?
I met you in Anton's office.
Really? In Anton's office? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I met you in Anton Gunn's office. I remember that. But it's a blessing to, I won't even tell my age at the time. But
I would say you had to be a baby because Anton hasn't had an office in Columbia in how many years? Golly.
Well, that's a good point.
And I moved here in 2001, right after 9/11. I moved here in October of 2001. Like I said, right after 9/11. So anyway.
Yep.
Sam, thank you. Thank you again so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I've kept you over the hour that I said that I would. So, so look, I don't want Mayor Bob to come in there asking you why you are. What you doing in there playing with Tre Tailor?
He'll probably join the interview.
I know he would. I know he would. So listen, tell Mayor Bob we said hello. He'll always listen. Even if you win in November, he'll always be our forever mayor.
Absolutely.
And I think you know that. But yeah, listen. Good luck to you. God bless. thank you again so much for sharing your vision for the city of Columbia. You have an open invitation if you'd like to come back on and talk more. I would love to have you come back on. Thank you again so much for joining us today on Coping with COVID. All right. Thank you. Take good care. Sam Johnson, y'all, he is a candidate for the mayor of the city of Columbia. I'm Tre Tailor. Thank you again so much for joining us. Listen, if you have a story or initiative that could help someone cope with COVID, please go to the Tailor Made Production page on Facebook and inbox me. I would love to talk to you about being a guest. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope with COVID, please email copingwithtreitailor@gmail.com. The information is scrolling on the screen, and we would love to talk to you about being a proud sponsor of Coping with COVID, just like SCDHEC, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, also Palmetto Media Connections, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and the Comet Bus System, the Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall, and of course, Javis Tax Service, celebrating 20 years of providing financial services for South Carolina. Hey, coming up tomorrow, we are going to talk to Brandon Upson. He is running for South Carolina Democratic Party Black Caucus Chair. He's a candidate. Also, the historic Bethel Centennial and Open House with Mary Skinner Jones and architect Michael Allen. That's tomorrow on Coping with COVID. Next Thursday, we'll talk to the other candidate for the City of Columbia mayoral race, Daniel Rickerman, and so much more. Listen, as always, I leave you with a reading from Jesus Calling. And on today, I want to say that Jesus says, when your sins weigh heavily upon you, come to me, Jesus says, confess your wrongdoing, which I know all about even before you say a word. Stay in the light of my presence, receiving forgiveness, cleansing, and healing. Remember that I have clothed you in my righteousness, so nothing can separate you from me. Whenever you stumble or fall, I'm there to help you. Man's tendency is to hide from sin, seeking refuge in the darkness. There he indulges in self-pity, denial, self-righteousness, blaming, and hatred. But I am the light of the world, Jesus says, and my illumination disseminates the darkness. Come close to me, Jesus says. Let my light envelop you, driving out darkness and permeating you with peace. Come into the light where Jesus is, even when and if you do wrong, because there's peace and healing there. That's your Jesus Calling for today, Thursday, May 20th. Happy birthday to my son, Matthias. Today is his birthday. He's in Vegas, where he lives, living it up. I love you. God bless you. And I love you too. Thank you again so much for joining us on Coping with COVID. Until the next time, I wish you peace, abundant blessings. Be careful, be safe. Please get your vaccination and wear your mask over your nose and under your chin. See you guys later.
Coping with COVID. Updates on the pandemic and information to help you thrive and survive COVID-19. It's brought to you by the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control. Visit scdheck.gov for an updated list of testing sites and important information on how to protect yourself, your family, and friends from the coronavirus. SCDHEC. Healthy people, healthy communities. In it together and the South Carolina Diabetes Advisory Council, presenting Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with COVID. The City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, helping to meet the needs of small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the City of Columbia. Log on to columbiasc.net/OBO. Agape Counseling and Training Services. Call 803-779-2777 for licensed professionals of counselors and social workers helping families, engaged and married couples, and individuals of all ages gain an understanding of all aspects of their lives. If you're having a challenge coping with COVID, contact Agape Counseling and Training Services at agapects.com. And Palmetto Media Connections, connecting media and communities together. Coping with COVID, brought to you by SCDHEC. In it together, the Diabetes Advisory Council, the City of Columbia Office of Business Opportunities, Agape Counseling and Training Center, and Palmetto Media Connections.
Coping with COVID with Tre Tailor.